I'm Sarah Borgson-Keto, and in conjunction with NEW's REIT World 2020 annual conference, I'm speaking today with Brian Davis, President and CEO of CatchMark Timber Trust. Brian, thanks so much for joining me.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So needless to say, this has been a challenging year to take over as CEO. Can you talk about some of the many unexpected challenges you faced in your transition amidst a pandemic?
Oh, certainly. It's very interesting, and I remember it well. We're sitting there in the middle of March, and at the end of the day, this really all becomes about people anyway. And we're sitting here, we have this rolling closings of schools here, countries are being shut down, being able from a travel standpoint, there's really a lack of protocols either on a federal, state, or a local level of what to do and how to do it. And obviously, as a new CEO, you go to your CEO playbook and you say pandemics, and there's not a section on pandemics. And so at the end of the day, what we really come back to is the care for people. We only have 25 employees here in Atlanta, Georgia, that are on staff. And so I've worked with a number of them for a little over a decade, even prior to our IPO, and obviously since then. And what I really saw was an emotional toll on the employees. You know, the business is the business, but it's the emotional toll on the employees. We have over half of our employees that have school-aged children. And so when we sat there and said, okay, what is CatchMark's protocol going to be? What are we going to really overcome? It's overcoming the social issues of people having to deal with dislocation of children going from a traditional basis of going to school or of education, employees being asked to become teachers. And so what's the best thing that we could do is provide the flexibility necessary and to go to a virtual only type of workplace. And we've done that. Obviously, we've come back a little bit. We do have some in-house. We've gone to a bifurcated schedule where we have a Monday, Wednesday group and a Tuesday, Thursday group. We closed the office down on Fridays. Obviously, everybody's working virtually, but it's really the human toll that took the emotional toll that surprised me. The other part was my leadership style is a very engaging style. I'm the guy who walks down the hall and has communications. What I found is that I had to change to meet the demands of what the current environment was. And so you go through that from a communication style of trying Zoom calls, doing one-on-one calls, doing team executive calls, and those types of things. And what we found is a very regular contact of where we are, especially in the early stage, of try to allay the fears of not only the business and what the business is doing, but also allay their fears of, you know, we're not going to wake up on a Monday morning and say, I need you to come in the office on Tuesday. And so we've tried to combine all of those things. I really over-communicate. And so those are the things that we've really focused on as a result of the pandemic. The emotional, the people aspect of it, what can we do for the people, which ultimately drives the business results.
Working from home and the economic slowdown has had clear impacts on real estate sectors such as office and hotels. But what are the broader macro factors at play due to the pandemic impacting Timberland REITs?
Well, CatchMark's a little bit different than our peer set. We are in the growing of trees business, and growing trees are good. So it was interesting in the early stages of the pandemic, I was looking for our marketing team to put together what has a tree gone through the last 25 years of its life? Typically, that's the life cycle of a southern yellow pine. And they've been through 5 or 6 or 7 elections. They've been through different economic cycles. They've been through a series of flus and pandemics and everything else. And the trees keep growing. And so from that standpoint, we are an essential business. The consumer packaging side, the consumer side has remained very steady. The other side of the business really experienced a bit of a slowdown. But when we sit here today, and this is what we were coming through when beginning of 2020, we were starting to see the early stages of a housing recovery, a housing cycle. We believe that's just been exacerbated as a result of this kind of time frame. What you have is low mortgage rates, favorable demographics of household formations that go along with that, and the lack of housing supply. And so by extension of those 3 things, compared with an ongoing repair and remodeling, the pandemic has really resulted in a lot of more stay-at-home opportunities for employees and their families. And so you're seeing a lot of expansions of existing homes or repurposing of existing homes. And so what you have is this confluence of events that's creating this actually, we call it early stage super cycle regarding the demand fundamentals associated with Timberland. So for us, in the timber REIT standpoint, you know, we're in a really great space right now because of the underlying demand fundamentals and the durability associated with those fundamentals. We expect really for the better part of the next 3, 4, 5 years. And we're really looking forward to participating in that.
Finally, can you talk about the company's capital allocation priorities as we head into 2021, and has it changed over this year?
Well, it's interesting. In the beginning of the year, we were answering a lot of questions, especially in the March, April, May timeframe regarding liquidity, burn rate, what's happening to your company, what's the duration associated with potential pandemic, and how does that impact our business? We really went back and said, what is our business model? We are in the tree growing business. And when we don't sell something, it's really a deferral of a revenue, not a lost revenue. And so when we came back, we said, okay, we have sufficient liquidity. We went through an amendment, provided sufficient liquidity for the business. And we said dividends are an important compartment of what we're going to deliver back to our shareholders. And those were the two things we really focused on. We didn't change our dividend policy. We maintained where we are. We're covering our dividend for this year. That was an important return consideration for our shareholders. As we look at the next couple of buckets, it's really focusing on simplifying our business and deleveraging it to put us in a position for growth. And we're still working on that. Deleveraging either through capital recycling opportunities or through the recapitalization of our joint venture, Triple T, which will ultimately allow us to then focus on our priorities, which is deleveraging, share repurchases, and M&A, especially given what our share price is today. Those priorities really haven't changed, and they've been very consistent through the process.
Brian, thanks so much for joining me.
Not a problem, Sarah.
And for more news and analysis from REIT World, be sure to visit NAREIT's website, REIT.com.